I would love to hear from any of you. So please go ahead and just jump in. And I would love to hear from any of you. So please go ahead and just jump in.
No need to start you off.
Oh, did someone say
Yes,
something?
yes, Peter. Yeah, I think Peter is trying to respond.
Okay.
So this student saw, of course, two lines, and then looked at the line that is easiest to look at and count, which is the lower one, and of course doubled it. And I think that's what they saw, and they therefore quickly said 8.
Okay.
And if you
Interesting.
wanted
Great.
me to, if I was teaching this person and I wanted them to notice that the lines are not equal, I would probably have the orange, the fifth orange on the top line, either separate kind of a shade or a little bit further apart, or maybe put in the center of the two lines.
Okay. Great, thank you. Any other thoughts of what the, we don't know what mistake the student made. What else might the student have done?
Okay, can I come in?
Okay.
Good morning and good evening to my colleagues. Yeah, you're looking at it, probably this learner has issues with rote counting and may have repeated a number twice as the learner is trying to count the oranges there, or may not be so sure of what is 8, the value number and the objects that are there that are being counted. So what I think the problem the learner has is rote counting and associating with the object. Or, being young ones, they are not systematic in that they may skip one of the oranges. That is my thinking. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, those are great suggestions. And what we know that young children often do when they're learning how to count, right? We talk about it as a mistake, but if this is a first grader, it's part of the learning process, right? That this child they might have counted, they might have gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Exactly as you said, they don't know the rote counting sequence and they haven't memorized it yet. They could have counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's called one-to-one correspondence. Often students aren't able to touch one object and say one number, right? So there's lots of different things that the student might have done. What would you do? So let's say the student doesn't know the rote counting sequence. If you were their teacher, what might you do? That's called one-to-one correspondence. Often students aren't able to touch one object and say one number, right? So there's lots of different things that the student might have done.
Yasmin, can I attempt?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I think even responding to the first question on why the learner gave 8, my view would be like this learner was counting while matching. The lower and the upper row are long, and then when he or she got to the point where there's no lower row continuing, this learner decided to skip the one that is not matching to have 8. Now, if I was to address this kind of error, my suggestion would be to teach the learner how to count on along the line. So if it's the first row 1 through up to 5, then continue from the second row 6, 7, 8, 9. That would be my proposed idea on how to address this challenge of the learner.
Yeah, Great. Thanks, Bolan. Yeah, I think what you're saying to me makes a lot more sense for a child that's maybe middle of first grade, a little bit older that's starting to notice, patterns and you're trying to get more advanced counting strategies. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, I'm going to keep on going, but thank you everyone for sharing. Great ideas. Okay, so in the spirit of counting, let's count. Does everyone have some counters next to them, something that they can count? You're trying to get more advanced counting strategies. So if you do, take a small handful of them. I'm going to keep on going. But how many ever you want. Great ideas. So I have some right here. And count them. Does everyone have some counters? And then put in the chat, how many do you have? So if you do, take a small handful of them. How many ever you want. So I have some right here. And count them. If I can see the chat. Yes. And then put in the chat how many you have. Okay, I see 14. 9. Oh, wow. Hold on. You're not a first grader. Did you count 60 already? Okay, I see 14. 6, 25. Okay, so I see lots of people counting. So here's what I would ask you. Was it hard for you to count some objects? Was it hard? Was it difficult? Was it easy?
It was easy for me.
Yes. I would hope for all of us it's very easy, right? To count a small handful of objects, except maybe Volan, who has 60 matchsticks in a box. When you were counting, think about what you did. What did you do when you were counting your cubes or whatever you were counting? And think about a young child and what we just looked at with that child counting up to 8 and some of the mistakes that they might make. What were you doing?
Can I go?
Yeah, please.
Yes. Now thinking like an early grade, that's grade 1, the psychomotor skills of picking one at a time and putting it on the side as I count loudly.
So it's hard for me to, let's see if I can do this, but here. So if I have a paper here, I think you guys can see this. Going 1, 2.
That is
3,
it.
right?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
So does anyone know what that's called? What do we call that in math? Taking one object and saying one name. Anyone? It's called one-to-one correspondence. So it's a fundamental property of number is one-to-one correspondence. Unit counting is also what we're doing. We're counting. So when I take it, what you see young children doing sometimes, and this is more in pre-primary, but also in grade 1, you see children doing this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? They're counting, they're saying the right sequence, but their words are not matching the objects. That's a really fundamental property of number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, right? What else do you do as you're counting? So you touch the objects and you move them. You say a number word. What else do you do?
I think the other thing we do is like as we push, we are making a group. As we push, like you put things together and they are making a set or a group, if I can say.
Yeah, so let me talk about that. So you're making a group. So if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, right? I now have this group here. And now, if I were to ask you, how many are there? Can you guys show me with your fingers? How many are there? I see four. Yes, four. There's four, right? How do you know it's four? How do you know it's not one, two, three, four? Three, two, four. Virginia?
Yeah, I think I know it's four because of the last number I said, which
Exactly.
represents the quantity in the group.
Yep, exactly. That's called, do you know the formal word for it?
Um, I don't know, maybe I don't know what to use, but here would say the number value.
The number value. Yeah, yeah. We call it, so in with the counting principles, we call it cardinality. So it's understanding exactly what you said, that the last number, when I said one, two, three, four, this isn't four, right? This one here by itself is not four. This entire group is four. So the reason we're talking a little bit about counting in detail is because when you think about some of these skills, we can understand it's actually very learning how to count accurately is actually a pretty difficult skill for students, right? They have to memorize the number sequence. They have to have one-to-one correspondence. They need to know about cardinality. Oftentimes when you ask young children and you say, okay, here's count these, how many? They'll say one, two, three. And you say, how many do you have altogether? And they'll say one, two, three. You say, no, but how many do you have? One, two, three. That means they don't quite understand the idea of cardinality, that this three, it's not this one. This is not three. This is three. And so it's actually a very difficult concept for young children to acquire. Any questions?
Not a question, Yasmin, but a comment.
Yeah.
And I think this concept sometimes could be ignored.
Hmm.
And because of the cognitive process that's involved in getting this child here, sometimes it's not very familiar to the children.
Yeah.
And, while engaging in these kind of things, I think the one thing to appreciate is that when it comes to counting, you can never attribute the number to the object. So because there is no threeness in the item called three.
Yeah.
There's no fourness in the item called four.
Hmm.
And so that level of advanced thinking, which sometimes, you're very quick to say, you just counted. Why can't you say how many you have,
Yeah.
It's also good to appreciate that number attributes and that being able to build that correspondence, and at the same time being able to understand the fact that you labeled that item as three has nothing three about it.
Yeah.
It's just representing that. I think it's a very useful thing to carry along from that discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. That's, and oftentimes like you see here, there's four. You see teachers doing this type of thing all the time. Let's say you're counting objects, the teacher goes one, two, three, four. And you can imagine that's really confusing for a child because this isn't four. This isn't three. It's the group. So what I try to tell teachers is to do this. One, two, three, four. So show the whole group. Because if you're just showing one, imagine if you're 5 years old, you're thinking, wait, I don't understand. How is this four? There's nothing four, as you said, Virginia, about this. This is one. Right? So that's how the number system is built, and that's something we want children to understand.
Excuse me. I
Yeah.
was also now becoming excited by the fact
Yeah.
that, again, the counters we are using are of different colors. And therefore, that
Yeah.
means that a learner can very easily confuse maybe green to be representing three or
Hmm.
red to be representing two. And therefore, that bit of combining numbers to get the group that we are talking about could be a little bit complicated and therefore confusing to the learners.
That's an interesting point you bring up. I could see how it's confusing. I would say one of the things that that we say with these understanding of how to count is that whether you're counting the same color or different color, or even if I was counting like cubes and chairs and people and, you know, sunglasses or anything, anything can be counted together, right? And that's a fundamental principle about number is that anything can be counted. So yes, while maybe sometimes it might be easier when you're just starting to have the same colors, eventually you do want children to understand that there's nothing inherent about the yellow or the green or anything like this. So the more that you use a mix of different objects, the better because children see, oh, I can count this, I can count that, I can count different things. Thank you. So just to go over briefly here, this is just a nice little summary, and the slides will be shared with you all afterwards so you have access to these. This is just what children learn about counting in the initial years. So what we just did was count to answer the question, how many? Right? Where you basically have some objects, you count pictures or objects to answer the question, how many? That's what we just did. Um, Children also eventually start learning how to count on. So there's different ways of counting on. I think some of you mentioned this with the initial picture of the oranges that when children are counting, they might count the top or know the top row has five and count on 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So here you can see also, you could start at 4 and say start from 4. These are all good activities to integrate into the early grades where, when you hear rote counting in classrooms, you often hear starting from 1. But children should be able to start from 5 and keep counting. Start from 9, start from 25, right? We want children to be able to start from different numbers and count forward. Same with counting backwards, right? We want to count backwards we often do from 10 or from 5 because it's easier to memorize, but really students should be able to count back from any number. So forward and back from any number. And then I think we all know skip counting, right? Where you count by twos, you count by fours, you count by fives, tens, all of that. And a lot of these skills are rote, right? You can use songs, you can use rhymes, but you're really trying to build the memory for children of remembering how to count up, how to count backwards, and how to skip count, especially in the early grade. Okay, any last thoughts about counting, or we're gonna move on from counting?
I just wanted to also say something about this counting, as it is in single units. The element of combining the single elements to form a group with its very simple relationship with addition is something that cannot be cannot be ignored, because as we count in single units, the concept of adding to form a group becomes eminent, that it has to be passed across during that time of counting. I don't know. That is my perception.
Interesting. Yeah, we're actually about to talk about composing and decomposing, which I think is similar to it's a foundation for adding. So it's coming into addition and the idea of putting together, taking apart, but not quite. I think when you're first introducing counting, introducing it as addition could be confusing for a child. Virginia?
Yeah, maybe just something to note has been that there are a number of things that one ought to think about, especially when it comes to the elements of counting. And is also to think about the progression or how these skills build over time. Because for a very young child, they could be able to just recite these numbers in order or not in order. And, that's still a stage of development, like the very initial stage. I know here we went directly to counting the objects, but it's good to acknowledge that counting begins much earlier as an oral, you begin by oral counting, and children will count without necessarily keeping an order, especially when they come to school. And then the first thing you do is try to make them count in the right order, first and foremost. Because when you now start combining that they count in order and at the same time they are pointing at objects and forming groups, that are much more advanced, cognitive skill. So there's the whole lot of memory, counting from memory, then counting with meaning when they actually start building that meaning around that actually a number sequence represents something, and being able to apply that in the counting. Then what you called the one-to-one correspondence, that now I can actually, once I have developed mastered that there is an order in which counting happens, that being able to interpret and apply myself when counting objects and acknowledging that there has to be a certain order is also another level of mastery that's needed. And then finally, within the counting domain is the aspect you talked about, cardinality. That now, with that, having mastered the number counting I can count from memory, keeping the right order, then eventually I'm able to apply it when even trying to make groups, items in groups. So it's good to see it as sequences, something that's built upon each other, and to be able to appreciate the progression that comes with it.
Yeah. Thank you, Virginia. Yeah, definitely. The progression is very important here. The one thing I would say is, I'm not sure. Usually, most children develop a lot of these skills even before school, right? As you said, like you have 2-year-olds hear numbers, they count. You can hear 2-year-olds singing songs or counting the number of stairs if they're going up steps or anything like that. So you see children are coming to school with this wealth of experience. So what we should really be doing as teachers and in the classroom is building off of it. So it's important to remember when you're starting to teach counting, most of the students in the class probably know how to count. You're fine-tuning it, right? You're helping them be more accurate and be more know the cardinality and some of those things. But most kids, especially developmentally, by the age of 5 or 6, most kids will get, one-to-one correspondence. Like whether or not you've been to school, there are no adults that don't have one-to-one correspondence, right? That's something we develop. That's a skill that you will have and you will develop. And so it's tricky. I think we want to teach kids how to count, but then we're going to talk next about an over-reliance on counting and what that does. So we're going to talk about both of those as we keep going. I'm going to move forward to our next section, which is about building mathematical knowledge for teaching. So I think a lot of you have heard, hopefully, of this term, mathematical knowledge for teaching, or MKT. It's basically, this is just a little practice activity to know if you are teachers of children in grades 1 to 3, they need a specialized type of knowledge, right? They need the knowledge of the content, right? What am I teaching? And of course, it's what we just did, like counting. Oops. Did my slide disappear? Let me try that again. Okay. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay. So the mathematical content, what are you teaching? But you don't just need to know how to count, for example. You need to know a lot of what we've been talking about. How do you teach it? What are the different teaching activities? And then we need to know, Virginia, what you were just saying, the progression, how children learn the content. There's 3 parts to it, and we need to know all of this, or we need to know all of this if we're running a national numeracy program. And then teachers, while you can't teach them everything, teachers need some support in understanding what to teach, how to teach it, and how students learn. So in that spirit, I thought we would try this one. So please read the problem. Don't put your answer yet. Let everyone think for about a couple minutes and then we'll share. So please don't share your answer yet. And when I say early stage, it just means initial stage, whatever you think of as students just beginning to learn addition. Okay, once you know the answer, once you think you know the answer, go ahead and put it in the chat.
Auditions.
I see some B's, some A's. Lots of A's. If you don't know the answer, you can put a D. That's okay. Some B's. Some B's.
Even where to.
So I see lots of A's and B's, no C's. So nobody is saying C, and nobody is saying D, unless I'll just assume people that didn't answer have difficulties answering because I didn't hear from everyone. Could someone that chose B explain? So I see lots of Evelyn, I see Peter, I see Joy. Nobody is saying C. Any of those people want to explain? Is saying D, unless I'll just assume people that didn't answer have difficulties answering because I didn't hear from everyone. Could someone that chose B explain?
Yeah, sorry, I was actually trying to delete what people have typed here. But then that's okay. So I chose B because it's easier for one to continue because they already know like I have five. And then that also will help one avoid uh, miscounting based on fatigue. So if you already have five and then you're continuing, it becomes easier. And I saw that when we were in Bungoma, and the students who are having that, like say five, then continuing counting forward, was getting it easier to do the math than those who are starting from scratch. Miscounting based on fatigue. So if you already have
Thank you,
five
Walter.
and then you continue,
What about
it
someone that
becomes
chose
easier.
A,
And
Leah?
I saw that
I see
when we
you're
were
the
in
last one on the
Bungoma,
chat. Do you want to share?
and the students who are having that,
Yes,
let's say
because
five,
we are talking
then
about the
continue
majority of
counting
students to
forward,
use at the early stage of
would be
learning
getting it easier
addition.
to do the math than
It will be
those who
easier
are
for
starting
them
from
to
scratch.
just count all of them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
What about someone that chose A? Okay, so you think they will count all at the beginning instead of counting from the
Yes,
end of the
because we
first
are
group.
talking about the majority of
Correct.
students to use at
Okay,
the early stage of
so what do you
learning
all think
addition.
the correct answer is?
It will be
I
easier
mean,
for them
correct
to just
answer.
count all of them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So
I,
Leah, you are correct. It's A, exactly. I think Eric said this, A first, right? So students are just starting addition, they count all together. So if you have 5 candies and someone gives you 2 more, what
I hoped Chantal would be coming in to say hello. So Chantal, do you want to invite us formally and then hand over the program to Yasmin?
I think Eric says it, A first, right? So
Okay.
students are just starting addition,
Hi, everyone.
they count all
Thank you, Yasmin, for joining us and offering this training. This is the first one. It's the first one for the series of trainings that we will get.
Chantal, do you want to invite us formally and then hand over the program to Yasmin?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Yasmin, for joining us and offering this training. This is the first one. It's the first one for the series of trainings that we will get. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Yasmin, for joining us and offering this training. This is the first one. It's the first one for the series of trainings that we will get.
So, is everyone ready? Because it's going to go fast. So I'm going to show you something on the screen, and then I want you to feel free to unmute and just tell me how many you saw. Ready? Everyone's looking at the screen? Okay. Here we go. So I'm going to show you something on the screen. And then okay. I want you how many dots do you see? And just tell me how many you saw. Ready? How many did you see? Everyone, I hear lots of threes, okay? And there you go. It was 3. Did you have time to count it? Nobody had time to count,
No.
right? You can't count. It was too fast. But you knew that there were 3, right? That is subitizing. All of us, human beings in general, have this ability to look at small quantities of objects and just instantly know how many they are. So here, you just knew there was 3. Nobody had to count it. If you look around the room that you're in, if you look at 3 chairs, you don't have to go and say 1, 2, 3. The same way you don't need to do that, children don't need to either. Children, for showing 3 objects, for example, in a classroom, you want the teacher to just say 3, not to have to count a small number of objects. Okay, let's do a few more. You ready? How many dots do you see? You don't have to go and say 1, 2, 3. The same way you don't need to do that. How many? Children don't need to.
7,
Children,
8,
for showing 3 objects,
8,
for example,
7,
in a
imagine.
classroom, 7, 8. 3. Not to have
It was
to.
difficult.
It was difficult. It was fast. So,
I wasn't able to know.
okay,
It was
here you
very
go. How
cool.
many are there?
Oh, 9.
9.
9. So, can we subitize 9 objects? No. Right? You can't instantly recognize 9 when they're just placed like this. Right? You heard, and the first one, everyone right away said 3. That was it. So, okay, here you go. How many are there?
Yes, because we are talking about the majority of students to use at the
You can't instantly
early
recognize
stage of learning addition. it will be easier for them to just count all of them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay. So you think they will count all at the beginning instead of counting from the end of the first group.
Correct.
Okay. So what do you all think the correct answer is? I mean, correct answer.
Count all of them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So Leah, you are correct. It's A, exactly. I think Eric said this, A first, right? So when students are just starting addition, they count all together. So if you have 5 candies and someone gives you 2 more, what most students are going to do is put them together and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? They're going to count all of them. Eventually, and relatively quickly, a teacher would want to, this doesn't happen naturally, but a teacher wants to help students move towards more complicated strategies. And a more complicated strategy is, well, I know there's 5 in the first group, so I'm going to just start with 5, 6, 7. Right? That's a more complicated strategy. You don't do it right at the beginning, but you're correct that we start with the more basic question. And a more complicated strategy is, well, I know there's 5 in the first group. Well, I'm going to just yeah, you're right, Regina. It should say how many altogether. This is a question from was adapted to Kyrgyzstan in Central Asia, and so this was a back translation of the Kyrgyz, so it's a little bit confusing with the language. Okay, let's try one more. Okay, try this one. Yeah, you're right, Regina. It should say how many altogether. This is a question from was adapted to Kyrgyzstan in Central
The question
Asia.
itself is missing a 6.
A back translation of the Kyrgyz. Nope. The Kyrgyz, so it's a little bit. That's how the child counted. Okay, let's try one more. Okay, try this one. So how would you help that child is the question. Yeah, you're right. It should say how many altogether. This is a question from and go ahead and put your answers in the chat.
The question itself is missing a 6.
Nope. I see lots of B's. That's how the child counts. I see an A. So how would you help that child is the question. Lots of A's and B's. Nobody is telling the child to just go practice on their own, which is good, because that's probably not the best solution. Okay, does someone want to share their answer for B? Count out loud together with the child.
Maybe I could give it a try.
Thank you.
I think from what I've observed, children learn more by imitating. So I didn't go with A because that's a little bit advanced. Like the child first needs to know the sequence, then they are able to assign numbers to objects. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you. And what about A? Does someone want to share why they chose A?
Learn more by imitating. So I didn't go with A because that's a little bit advanced. Like the child first needs to know the
Jasmine,
sequence, then they are able to assign
I think
numbers to
demonstrating to the
objects.
child how to count the object will, in a way, help the child to conceptualize the whole idea. Because what I've seen with most kids is that once the teacher is out of the picture, the child will be counting out loud, but may not match the sound with the object. So they are likely again to make a mistake even while they are counting. But when when it's demonstrated to them clearly how they're supposed to count the objects, they'll have that mental picture in them, and they will just understand how to do the counting. So that is why I picked A.
Okay, great. Thank you. Elizabeth, did you want to add something?
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to say that I would go with A because there is the I do. I do, then we do, and then you do. I think that one I would demonstrate first with the child, and then I would ask the child to count. Otherwise, if we are counting together, the child can even go beyond 8 because to the child is like a song. But once I do it, and then I ask the child to do, probably it would be now much, it would be able to stick. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask you guys this question. So the child is counting out loud, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. What mistake did the child make? What error does the child have?
The child has skipped.
Mhm.
The child has skipped letter 6.
Yep, the
The
child has
skip number
skipped
6.
the 6, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So did they make a mistake in counting objects?
Nope, they don't have the number sequence.
They don't have the number sequence. So this is where, as a teacher, you would want to know what maybe the child doesn't know how to count objects. We don't know, right? Here, the child is not counting objects. So if you go to the child as a teacher and say, okay, well, let me show you, here's how to count 1, 2, the child might count like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. There, I counted objects, right? The error that the child made is in the number sequence. So the best way to support this child is to count out loud together, is to get the counting sequence down because that's the error they made. They may have an error with counting objects. We don't know. But what we want teachers to do, and granted it's very difficult to do, but is to be able to see what a child is doing and diagnose and say, I see what this child is doing. Here's the problem that they have, right? That's what mathematical knowledge for teaching is. That's what this MKT is being able to understand what types of errors children are making and how to help them, right? How to remedy the problem. And so you want to make sure that the solution the teacher is offering matches the problem. That's why it's important for teachers to know these different steps on counting. But anyway, this was just a fun activity to not to say that we all know everything now about counting, but to think a little bit more about mathematical knowledge for teaching and its role with early grade teaching. So I'm going to move forward because I know our time is tight to number sense. So to talking about we've talked about counting, and now I wanted to talk about a lot of the things we talk about with number sense with the basic numbers, which is composing, decomposing, subitizing, reading, writing numbers, comparing numbers, all of those types of things are the basic foundations of number. So let's start. Does subitizing. Have people heard the term subitizing before? Does anyone know? Well, it says right here what it is, but subitizing is another way to answer the question, how many? Okay, so subitizing is the ability to instantly recognize the number of objects in a group without counting them. Okay, so I'll say it again, without counting them. Counting is very important. We just spent a lot of time talking about counting, but we don't always want to emphasize that children should count. Sometimes or often we want to rely on subitizing more than counting. So with small groups of objects, young children can know how many, without needing to know how to count. So I'm going to just show you a demonstration. So hopefully everyone is looking at the screen. I'm going to try to take this off of the screen. So there we go. Okay. So is everyone ready? Because it's going to go fast. So I'm going to show you something on the screen, and then I want you to feel free to unmute and just tell me how many you saw. Ready? Everyone's looking at the screen? Okay. Here we go. Oops. That's not what I want. Okay. How many dots do you see? How many did you see?
Three.
Three.
Everyone? I hear lots of threes. Okay. And there you go. It was three. Did you have time to count it? Nobody had time to count,
No.
right? You can't count. It was too fast. But you knew that there were three, right? That is subitizing. All of us, human beings in general, have this ability to look at small quantities of objects and just instantly know how many they are. So here, you just knew there was three. Nobody had to count it. If you look around the room that you're in, if you look at three chairs, you don't have to go and say 1, 2, 3. The same way you don't need to do that, children don't need to either. Children, for showing three objects, for example, in a classroom, you want the teacher to just say three, not to have to count a small number of objects. Okay, let's do a few more. You ready? How many dots do you see? How many?
7.
Eight.
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 7, imagine.
7, 8.
It was difficult.
It was difficult. It was fast. So,
I wasn't able to know.
okay,
It was
here you
very
go. How
cool.
many are there?
Oh, 9.
9.
9. So, can we subitize 9 objects? No, right? You can't instantly recognize 9 when they're just placed like this, right? You heard, and the first one, everyone right away said 3. That was it. There was nobody said 4, nobody said 2, everybody said 3 right away. With this one, it was like 7, 8, 9, I don't know. You can't subitize this many objects. So you have to have a strategy for counting or something for this many objects. So this number of objects like this, you can't subitize. Okay, here's one last one. You ready?
10.
10.
10.
10. I heard 12, I heard 10,
8.
8. So still a little bit of discrepancy, but how many?
8.
8.
Even right now, when you see them, 8. Right? There's 8. Did you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8?
No.
Nope. What did you do, Eric?
Just at a glance, we saw it was 8.
How? How?
At a glance, I just looked and made the pattern and get 8.
What was the pattern?
The two columns, just that picture of 4 enough.
The 2 columns, right? You can subitize 4 right here. So you can see that there's 4. And then you saw there was 4 again. So you know that 4 plus 4 is 8. Right? So this is called this is a different type of subitizing where you're relying on patterns and you want the children to start combining different number combinations together. This is a great activity to integrate into lessons, right? Teachers have dot cards, they hold them up quickly, they put them down, and you ask children how many. Okay, any questions about subitizing? How might you think How
Yes,
could some,
Yasmin.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Lydia, the one who has a relationship with maths. At what level? At what level would you propose that learners can be able to effectively gain from subitizing?
From PP1, from the time that they're very young, students can see like two objects or three objects and just know that there's two or three. So we should use that again, thinking about early math as using what children are bringing with them from their everyday lives. That's what they're bringing with them. So subitizing helps with things like counting on or moving past rote counting. So especially in grade 1, you really want to, it's not something you have to teach to kids. They already have it. Those of you that have kids at home, show them 3 objects and ask them how many there are. They're going to know that there's 3. If you show them 3 chairs or 3 cookies, they will say 3. It's something we all have this ability to do that we're born with. So we should use it. We should use it in math.
Yasmin, I also have a question.
Yeah.
Could you say that it is easier to subitize when it is in a perfect pattern? The previous one, when it was a little bit scattered, we struggled. But here, because it's in sort of a perfect pattern, we were able to get it.
Yeah. That's a good question. So there's a difference in so this that you noticed here that we weren't able to subitize, you can't subitize. So the upper limit for adults, according to a lot of the brain research and cognitive science research, is 5 to 6 objects. That's about it. At past 5 objects, and as for young children, past about 5 objects, they can't subitize. But what they can do, if you notice with this one, you didn't subitize 8. You subitized 4, and then you notice the pattern. So that's the difference, is you're building off that pattern where you're subitizing a number between 1 to 4 or 1 to 5, and then looking at a pattern. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Any other questions on subitizing? I know we're going very fast, so I'm going to move on now to composing and decomposing. Okay, here we go. Composing and decomposing. This is another part of early number. So everyone, and if you can be again on camera for this, that would be ideal. Take one hand. Oops. Sorry. And show, or you could use both your hands actually. How many different ways? Show me one way to make the number 4 with your fingers. So I see 4. Okay, now show me a different way to make the number, to show the number 4. Okay, I see Chantal. Yep. Show me a different way. I see 3 and 1. I see 2 and 2. I'm trying to, it's hard to see all the photos, the images. Let's see. Okay. Now, how many different ways can you make the number 4? What are all the different ways? So I see, okay, 2 and 2, right? Everyone show me 2 and 2. Okay, show me 3 and 1. Does that still make 4? What about 1 and 3? Does that make 4? I don't know if I can't remember which finger I'm using.
Yep.
What about 4 and 0?
Mixed 4.
Yeah. 0 and 4?
4 and 0 might be misconstrued as 40.
Maybe, but if you do this, if you just do this, it's 4, right? That's why we want to use fingers.
Could I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
In early learning, do we have zeros?
We do. I mean, in if you look at curriculum like the GPF and the Global Proficiency Framework and research on what children learn, they usually the number 0 is introduced in the very beginning of grade 1 or even in PP1. Students are probably already familiar with the idea of nothing, right? I have 2 candies, I eat them both. Now I have nothing left. So it's just giving a name to that number. So yes, so when we decompose numbers, what we say is it's basically there's different ways to make a number. So if you have the number 4 or the number 5, there's ways that you can decompose, which means to break the number up, and compose, which means to put it back together. Why do you think this is important? Why would composing and decomposing using your fingers, how would that help the child understand the number 4? Remember, we're not talking about addition here. We're not talking about putting together. We're talking about number and composing and decomposing. Any thoughts on why this activity would be helpful?
Yes, can I talk?
Yes, please.
This promotes what you call active learning as children participate physically. Yeah, and it's a bit, it boosts their attention and also engagement.
Okay, yeah, you're right. So doing activities with your fingers, it's active learning, and so students can learn more. How might this help them understand number? Yeah, go ahead.
The fourness, when you decompose, the element of the fourness comes out.
Say that again.
Yeah, I'm saying the moment you are decomposing, you are bringing in the fourness, that element of four of them, the fourness.
Exactly, the fourness. So that's a great way to say it, that understanding that what is the number 4 and understanding what that means. Part of understanding what is the number 4 is understanding that you can break it into smaller pieces, 2 and 2, that still make 4, right? You can take 3 and 1, and put it together to get 4. That's understanding the number 4. So all of these activities, composing, decomposing, are really about the number and really understanding, as you said, the 4-ness of 4 or the 5-ness of 5. Anyone else?
And it pass as number families, number family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts to help thinking about the number family. Yep. Laying the foundation.
Thank you. I think it's also a build up to operation for, for instance, addition in the years to come.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. Go ahead. I think someone has their hand raised. Not sure who. No. Anyone else want to share? No? Keep going? Okay. So what do we know about composing and decomposing numbers? So basically, children should be able to compose numbers, which again is putting a number together using its part. So knowing that if you have 6, you can compose a group of 4 and a group of 2, and that makes 6. And likewise, they should be able to decompose numbers, right? So that means breaking a number down into its parts. So you can take 5 and you can decompose it into a group of 2 and 3. And what I want to say here is that we really want to make sure that when composing and decomposing, this is not seen, teachers don't introduce this as addition, right? This is not 4 plus 2 equals 6. There are multiple ways to make 6, and you can break a number down. It eventually becomes addition, right? It forms, as someone said, it forms the foundations. But composing and decomposing is something that I would introduce to students when I'm introducing the number the very first time. So the very beginning of first grade, you're introducing numbers 1 to 5, you compose and decompose numbers. We talked about subitizing, again, identifying a small number quickly and visually, but without counting. And then subitize by grouping, which is identifying a number quickly and visually by subitizing smaller numbers. And that was when we did the 4 and the 4, and we saw that there was 8. Okay, so that's very quick about composing and decomposing. We've talked about counting, subitizing, composing, decomposing. I'm going to keep on going, so we move on to our
Yasmin,
next. Oh
just
yeah,
a
go
brief
ahead.
one, Yasmin.
Yeah, please.
I'm just wondering, putting myself in the position, the shoes of a teacher, and I'm trying to teach the aspect of composing and decomposing, and then how I'll be delineating this or separating this from addition and subtraction when I'll be teaching both.
Yeah.
How does a teacher need to navigate this to ensure that the learner is not confused on when dealing with composing and addition and decomposing and division?
That's a good question. So usually when composing and decomposing is, first of all, you don't call it that with students, right? You don't say, oh, today we're going to learn about composing and decomposing. You, in your curriculum, when you're introducing, let's say your numbers 1 to 10, so this is very beginning of the year, before you get to addition or subtraction. So you haven't even introduced the ideas of, putting together or taking apart, though kids probably know them. What you're really doing here is you're not introducing the symbols. You're not introducing anything abstract. You're really just talking about what are all the different ways I can make 6. Students, how can I make 6? If I wanted to take 6 and think about what are different ways to make it. That's all you're doing. I mean, you could even make 6 with 4, 1, and 1, right? That's another way to decompose the number. So you're talking about it more about the property of the number and not as let's add. When you talk about addition, you talk more about you have a group of something and a group of something else, and you put them together to see how many you have all together. So it's really about the language that the teacher is using versus, oh, what are all the different ways we can break apart this number? Does that make sense? So it's a different language that I think when thinking about materials, we have to be very careful in supporting teachers with that language.
Yeah, sure.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Yasmin.
I can also do addition on that.
Please.
Maybe on what Polana said, we can also observe that, well, in composing and decomposing, we are really at the early stages of building the number. For example, now in talking of 4, we are not even there at addition or subtraction or whatever. It is at the very, very early stages they are building the number 4.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the very early stages. So once you get into like second grade, you're not really doing much. You're using composing and decomposing in different ways, but it becomes more of a strategy for addition and subtraction. But at this point in the early grade 1, you're really talking about it as, I think you said it best, with the fourness of 4, right? You're talking about a property of the number. Okay, I'm going to just move to this next part because we're going to have a short activity. So here we have representing numbers. So now we're going to talk about what does it mean to understand, read, and write numbers. There's a relationship here, right? So you have the concrete objects, you have the written numeral, 3, and then you have the spoken number word, 3. For a
Yasmin,
child, yeah.
could I just ask people to put on off the videos? I think some are a bit distracting, so that we can have a relationship with math.
Sure.
Yeah, Eric Ogola might have forgotten. Eric Ogola. He might have forgotten his video.
Yeah, let's put them off so that we are able to follow what the facilitator is saying. Thank you. Sorry, Yasmin, you may proceed.
No problem. Thank you. So again, what's really important here with representing number is that we build these relationships between the numbers. So, for example, whenever you're using the written, sometimes you see in classrooms that teachers ask students to write the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that's the whole lesson. In the early years, the most useful activities help the children connect the written to the concrete to the spoken. The concrete to the spoken, this is the first connection that develops. Developmentally, it's the objects to the number word, and then it's the objects to the symbol. And then this one, the written to the spoken, that's actually the last one to develop. So just to keep in mind that when we're representing number, the more that you can help students in the initial years use all 3 all the time is really important. You don't want to just have them count, or I mean, you do want to do some counting, but you don't want them to just write numbers without any reference to the quantity, because that doesn't help them build this idea that you said so well, the fourness of 4. So just to know what we do with representing number, we want children to understand 0. So understand that 0 is none or the lack of any quantity. We want children to understand, read, and write numbers, including 0. So they should be able to read and write these numbers, but also know what they mean. And then eventually, right, this is the progression, they should be able to read and write numbers up to 100. So that comes, of course, much later. But it is important when thinking about 2-digit numbers that they should be able to write something like 43. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to breakout rooms. So I have an activity here. This would probably be more of a end of grade 1 or a grade 2 activity for reading and writing numbers. So what you will need is a hundreds chart, which I have in the Google Drive. So I don't know if someone can put a link to the hundreds chart, that would be great. I also am going to share this link with you all. Hopefully it will work. Let me see. It's an interactive hundreds chart, which I really like to use because what you can do is, let me share this. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Great. Oops.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, I can't move it. Hold on one sec. It was off my screen and now it's like stuck somewhere. There we go. Okay. So what you can do is you can, pick a color and say, okay, let's count everyone. So everyone count with me out loud. You ready? 1,
2,
2,
3,
4,
4, 5,
5,
6,
6,
7,
7,
8,
8,
8,
9,
9,
10,
10,
20,
20,
30,
30,
40,
40,
50,
50,
60,
60,
70,
70,
80,
80,
90, 100.
Okay, great. Now let me ask you, what number is that?
44.
44,
What number is that?
78,
What number is that?
72.
72,
Okay, so that's basically
94.
the activity, right? This is a good way to introduce children to a number chart and show it. So what I would like you guys to do is there will be a link in the chat. Oh, thank you. And what you want is I would love for you guys to go in here and download handout 1 and 2. So you have the activity and then you have the hundreds chart, or you can use the link I shared with the interactive hundreds chart, and you will go into breakout rooms of small groups. And I want at least a couple of you in the 15 minutes we have to try an activity. So try to teach this activity. You have all the instructions. It's really about facilitating the group and saying, doing basically what I just did, which is count to 10, then count from 10 to 100, and ask people to pretend they're students and do it. And then ask people to just pick some random numbers and ask people to tell you what number it is. And you could have them write it down also. So again, we're thinking about a student now, maybe in the beginning of second grade. This is a good review activity, or the end of first grade where you're getting up to numbers up to 100. Yeah, everyone clear? So you go in the breakout rooms.
Get the link again.
The link to the handouts or to the hundreds chart?
How can we break to the rooms?
I'm doing that. I'm doing that. I'll just send you to the rooms once I'm given that direction.
And please download first, because I don't think you'll get these links once you move to the breakout rooms. But let's take about 15 minutes. And again, 1 or 2 people at least try to lead this activity as if you're a teacher.
So I'll be waiting for you to guide me when to move
Yeah,
to
go.
the groups.
Yeah, go for it. Let's go ahead. Does everyone understand what we're doing? Okay, go ahead, Walter. Thank you.
I have already opened the room, so you can just accept to join. Please join. George, Mike, Ruth, guys should join. Calvin, George, Ruth, Anastasia, could you guys please join? 17 of you are still here. Please join.
skills underlying.
Yeah, I want to build on what the earlier speakers have observed, that really the learner doesn't grasp that concept of the total number. The child is just interested at looking at a group of 10. But then, because you're asking, what question would you pose to the student to encourage them to see another group of 10? Probably a question right away would have been, how many tens can you make from these sticks or straws? The total number.
Yeah.
The child is
Great.
just interested at looking at a group of 10. But then,
Fantastic.
because you're asking, what question?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and keep going. Thank you everyone for sharing. So let's talk a little bit about place value. Hopefully everyone has some sort of sticks, and I have sticks and rubber bands here. I don't know if people have sticks, but so I have these. These are sticks, and I have some rubber bands. So what I'd like you to do is I'm going to say a number. And again, if people can turn on their videos and show me that number using bundles of tens and ones, right? And it's important to think now we're at, let's say the beginning of second grade, we're at the end of first grade, where I would say this is probably more second grade, where you're thinking about understanding place value and what does it mean to take a number and represent it using place value. So I'm going to say a number, and I want you to show me that number using your sticks and your bundles, your sticks. Show me the number. Let's say 12. Using place value. So I'm going to say a number, and I want you to show me that number using your Let's see, Lydia. Okay, let's see. You've got sticks. Show me the number. Yep. Yep. Let's say nice. So Lydia, tell me what you're showing us.
So I have 10 strings on my left hand, and I have 2 strings on my right hand. So that's my 12.
Okay, great. I see that. I have a bundle of 10 sticks here and 2. So I have 10 and 2, 12. If anyone else can unmute, oh, thank you, Walter, and show us. Let's see, I see. I'd also want to see what kind of objects you all have. Oh, wow.
And
Yeah?
2.
Okay, perfect, Walter. 10 and 2.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, we have some clothespins. Perfect. Sticks here and 2. Oh, I see him putting 10 together. 12. Yep. If anyone else can. Very nice. Thank you, Walter, and show us. Let's see, I see Virginia. I see you have. I also want to see what kind of objects you all have. Anyone else want to share? Yeah. No. Okay, well, hopefully you all are doing this because it's actually really important to do it instead of just watch, because you get a sense of what it feels like to make the bundles and sticks. I'm going to say a different number. Make the number 24 for me. $24. Nice. Nice, Chantal. I see yours. 24. Great. Peter, fantastic. Very nice. Okay. So, let's see, Roland. You're using the matchsticks. That's good. Don't give those to your children. Not to use in a school. Uh-oh. It's okay. You can leave it on. He can show us the numbers. Oh, okay. Sorry. Sorry for those of you that were not told what to gather. Great. Thank you, Walter. Joy, great. So here I have the number 20, 24. How many tens are, oh, I think it needs to be like this for you all. How many tens do you have?
Two tens and
10.
yes.
Perfect.
2 tens
Two
and 4
tens
ones.
and 4 ones, right?
Yes,
2 tens,
yes.
4 ones. Now,
Yes.
very quickly, show me 13.
Okay.
13.
Okay.
Hold on, let's see if he can do 13. Good. 13. How many tens?
1 tens and 3 ones.
Exactly. 1 tens, 3 ones. Right? Okay. Try 26. Good, thank you. Kind of hard to hold these.
26.
Yep, 26. 2 tens
And
6
6 ones.
These types of materials, and I see a lot of you are using whatever we could find. I just found these sticks in my house. These are essential for students to be able to build numbers. And for those of you that have the materials, you can feel when you're holding them in your hands, you can feel how to make the bundles. The act of taking numbers and bundling them is actually really important for young children to learn their tens and their ones and to learn about numbers that way. Okay? Okay. Let's keep on going with this. So thank you for sharing. Let's talk a little bit about what children learn, right? When it comes to place value. So you want them to identify 10 as a group of 10 ones, right? So once you get to place value, every time you get 10, you want children to bundle them together, to make a bundle of 10. And it's really nice for children to actually take 10 loose ones, put them together and wrap something around it, right? That process helps them in their memory. It helps them remember this idea of bundling tens. You want children to count bundles of tens. So you know how we use the hundreds chart and we counted 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Here's another way to count like that. This is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, if I don't have enough, but that would be a way to count by tens. Here we are again talking about composing and decomposing. Remember those ideas we talked about with basic number. Once you get past 10, what you want children to do is to compose and decompose using tens and ones. So this is basically what we just did, right? Show me 23. Here's 23, right? Or here are 2 bundles of 10 and 4 ones. What's the number? 24. 10, 24. Right? So those are just some different options, different ways to think about bundles and sticks. Question? Anyone? Oh, go ahead. Did someone have a question?
No, not a question, Yasmin, but maybe just a comment around how this concept also relates to the ability, the mental math strategies for number counting. And when I recall that activity we did on the number chart of counting in groups of 10, I think nothing brings it to life more than this. And previously, we've tried to connect the bundles and sticks also with the number chart. So that for these children who are still struggling to identify, say, place value on the number chart when they are given numerals, they're just given numerals, this kind of activity is a very good concrete way of demonstrating to them, because then you're able, when they see number 23 on the chart and they have the 23 bundles, sticks bundled together, they can actually now form the connections between what is in the numeral and what they are holding within their hand. So that connection also plays out quite strongly in trying to reinforce the mastery of place value when you're working only with numerals. So that building that connection is really necessary for children.
Definitely. Yeah, thanks for doing it. And something you said, I just want to highlight this idea of building the connections. All these ideas we're talking about, composing, decomposing, counting, even subitizing, place value, reading, writing numbers, they're all related. They're all basically the same idea about number sense and building number sense in children. And so the more you can explicitly draw those links for children, the stronger their number system, right? So you use a hundreds chart, like, we did that activity right before with the hundreds chart. You can relate it to the bundles. That's a great idea because it helps children see those connections, right? There's actually some new research out showing that the more that teachers can draw connections between different representations, like the hundreds chart, the bundles and the sticks, different things like that, the stronger their number sense, the stronger they develop foundation. So much of this is about giving children different experiences with bundles and sticks, with hundreds charts, with counters, and then drawing links between them. Right? That's the key to early mathematics, is understanding all of this together as a system. That's what we want children to do. So thank you for sharing that. This last one is also, eventually you get to 100, and so understanding that 100 is 10 bundles of 10, right? And you can do that with the bundles. You can also do that with the hundreds chart, and you connect them together. That's the important part. I want to just say one thing about place value to emphasize, depending on curricula differ. In an ideal world, but the idea of tens and ones as a formal way of thinking about number is probably better off in grade 2. And I say this because you want children in grade 1 to really develop a sense of, I think you said this so well, the 12ness of 12. And yes, you can think about 12 as 10 and 2, but before that, you really want them to understand 12 is a number, right? It's not just 10 and 2, it's also a number in and of itself that represents a quantity. And so before you start teaching about place value and there's tens and there's ones and you can decompose into tens and ones, you want children to understand at least the numbers 1 to 20 really, really well before place value.
And where do we
Virginia, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm reflecting about this, and I'm glad Vincent is here. He may not respond, but it's for me because when we did this math program and we're trying to support the mastery of place value, it seemed to be like one of the most complex things to achieve.
Yeah.
And the way we had designed it, actually, we got really challenged in terms of implementation because We ended up now even, just completely switching our teacher training to only focus on this playing with bundles and sticks until children can develop that concept before introducing what we would call the place value house. I don't know what that what you're calling it. That kind of the cross that we do. I'm always reflecting and asking myself, whether this kind of thinking, because maybe in the way we lay out our curriculum, our designs, our teaching, is that when we get to place value, the first thing children see on the board is that two-column thing. And you're asking children, when you see this number on this side, that means ones. When you see a number on this other side, that means tens. But we skip this very fundamental space or this fundamental phase of helping children build those connections, or what Joy said earlier, develop the reasoning around these numbers and why we are labeling some of these concepts as such. So I really hope that, over time, we can also, in the near future, be able to integrate this kind, face down the abstraction, because possibly what is working a lot against us is the level of abstraction we are introducing very early in the child's lives, that whenever they're being taught to place value, it's placing bundles and sticks in the ones and tens column when they have not really internalized what it means in real life to be able to apply that concept.
Yep. Yeah, thank you. That's a good reflection. Does anyone want to add on to that or respond? Joy?
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to agree with Virginia about the introduction of the concept of place value, and particularly the use of sticks, so that the learners can be given opportunities to bundle them to understand that 10 ones is equivalent to 110. I think one of the challenges we have with the teachers is the use of too many teaching aids to introduce the concept of place value too quickly. For example, I have seen teachers using tens frame. I see sometimes teachers introducing the concept of place value using the spike abacus, and I really don't think it's very appropriate. Sometimes I see them using matchboxes. You have matchboxes and maybe coins. So when you count 10 coins, you put in the matchbox. So that's a 10, and then the loose coins are ones. I don't know. I think the idea of the bundles of sticks where the learners are actually bundling, I don't know how we can put it so that the teachers actually use sticks. I think that brings out the concept so well. And if the teachers can be made to dwell on that, just create bundles of 10. Create bundles of 10 and then loose sticks and create numbers using those bundles. Show me 32, show me 21, show me, I have this number. What do you think it is? Just using the bundles of sticks and tens and loose ones.
Thank you, Joy. Yeah, I completely agree. Like one thing that I think is a very common mistake that teachers make in the early grades is with place value materials, they say things like, okay, this green cube is 10. And this one is ones. And then they put them into different containers and say, oh, these are tens and these are ones. But again, is this 10? This is not 10. It doesn't make sense for a child. It's too abstract. This is 10 because you took 10 and you put them together. So there's no real way around it. Like doing things like, oh, this is a 10, pretend it's 10. It's very confusing for children, I think. So I agree. I think bundles and sticks to me it's low cost. It's, you can use sticks that you can ask children to go gather sticks and use them. There's a lot of different ways you can get these materials into the hands of students. So I think that's really important. And just one thing I wanted to say, I think that a lot of curriculums globally will say things like they have children go up to 9, and then for 10, they say, oh, well, we won't teach 10 until we teach place value. And to me, that is a big mistake because how many fingers do we have? 10, right? And children understand the number 10 not as 10 ones and 0, 0 ones and 10, one group of 10. It's just 10, right? We have 10 fingers, we have 10 toes, or most people do. So I think it's easier to build that number sense first and delay the introduction of place value until students are really ready for it. And once they're ready for it, like in grade 2, use the place value chart, use the bundles and sticks, and really dig into place value. But give them the opportunity to understand numbers 1 to 20 first before you build place value. I'm gonna keep going because I know we're a little bit short on time. I wanted to do one more session because I think it's instead of listening to me talk, I think it would be great for you all to go into groups again and try this activity. So basically, it looks complex, but basically what you're going to do is this. So you you're just going to make numbers with sticks and then you're going to write them down. So hopefully people have a piece of paper. You can have a place value chart or not, but I'm going to write a number. Does everyone see that number? Show me that number of sticks and write the number.
14.
Okay. And then show me it with bundles and sticks. If you have them. And then you write the number. That's all the activity is. And then as a teacher, you would say, yes, in the number 14, we know that there's one group of 10 and there are 4 ones, right? That's the entire activity. But again, I think it's useful for everyone to take at least 10 minutes to try to build that yourself and try to practice teaching it yourself. So again, if you go to the Google Drive, and I think someone can put the link there again, you can download this activity or you can just take a screenshot right now. Let's go to our breakout rooms and just spend only 10 minutes if we can doing this, and then we'll come back. Or actually, let's spend 8 minutes if that's okay, just so we have a little bit of time to wrap up. Walter, can you open the breakout rooms?
For 8 minutes, right?
Yeah, 8 minutes, please.
Who's taking us through? Somebody to take us through. Who has the bundles? Hello, who is there? Who has the bundles? Me.
Sorry, Joy. We were cut short. Our time was rather short. It's up to the integrity of the teacher.
Yeah.
That's where we ended.
But welcome back, everyone. And I think, we're at the end of our session, so I want to say thank you to everyone for participating, and for those of you that could turn on your videos and try to share, and hopefully even those of you that maybe didn't have the materials were able to get them and think about the materials a little bit. I would just ask quickly in the chat if you could share with me one takeaway that you will take from this session and one question you still have for me to address. So our next session is going to be on basically addition and subtraction. And again, if you can, I would ask you to have the same materials. So some sort of counters. And then if everyone now can try to get some sort of bundles and sticks, I saw straws, I saw clothes hangers, pens, whatever you can do. But if you can find some sort of place value material that you can do bundles and sticks for by our next session, that would be great. And then, yeah, please go ahead and drop this into the chat. And yes, we will share the slides, I believe. Chantel, I think, said she would send out the slides afterwards. And if you have any questions for me, let me know. Oh, that's what I like to hear, Lydia. That you're gonna become soulmates by the end of this.
Thank you so much, Yasmin. Before I let Virginia say the final word, I know we have a lot of our teacher trainers from the TTCs. Big thumbs up for turning up and staying the course. I might not have your contacts, so if you could be able to share your contacts with Joy Mulunda from Togoto TTC, or Mr. Gunga, then we can be able to share the slides once they are sent to us by Yasmin. And just to remind us that this is one class out of 3. So we shall be having the second class. Maybe Yasmin, you would say when?
I believe it is next Wednesday?
On 9th.
9th, sorry. Yes, next Tuesday.
Yeah, it's 9th.
Yes, the 9th and the 11th are the next Tuesday.
9th, 11th, yes.
Yes, so we are still extending the invite to your colleagues who are in the Department of Math, because as teacher trainers, then we start correcting the errors as early as now. For me, this has been great, and I've enjoyed the class and the counting. Thank you. And over to you, Virginia.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Lydia. And thanks so much, Yasmin, for this. I know I admire your simplicity. If we could all learn how to make maths as simple, as engaging, as interactive as that, and just forget the jargon that comes with it. You made us do very complex and scientific, or explore very complex and scientific concepts without necessarily appearing complicated. And I think that's one challenge I'm always taking from you. So thank you so much for ably facilitating this first session. And to the participants, for making time, remaining around all this long. I'm really excited because part of what we really want to do is to demystify maths and make it really one of the things that everybody will talk about so much, so fondly. So to the educators in the room, I hope that this doesn't end here. And we have bigger ambitions for this. So we are hoping that we can, through this academy, it's like a numeracy academy. Through this academy, we can run as many sessions as possible. So at some point, we will figure out, maybe in the next session, we'll figure out a way of getting people to sign up, so that even in 2026, you're able to help us understand what would be your topical issues you would want us to explore. And we can have these sessions running throughout the year. So it's not going to just be these 3 sessions. It's a long-term dream as we ask ourselves, how can then teacher training colleges become the hubs that teachers who are within the, primary school teachers who are within that, vicinity can also get supported. But most importantly is to start talking about these things during our pre-service teacher education so that teachers go into classes as engaged as they are. So please, I want to thank you all for your patience, for your patience, for your interaction, for remaining connected up to this. So the organizers, Bolan, Walter, Lydia, I know it's taken a lot of planning, conversations behind the scenes. So much appreciated, and wishing you all a good evening and a good day to you, Yasmin.
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate you staying so late, and taking time out of outside of your regular workday for doing this. But this was very fun. This is my favorite thing to do. Of all the things that I do, this is the most fun for me. So thank you, everyone, for engaging, and I look forward to talking about addition and subtraction next week. It will be fun. Come prepared. We're going to do some real math. So brush up on your math skills. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.